Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey,
We're back for another live stream. It seems like it's been at least 2 weeks since the last one.
It
Yeah,
seems like it.
I think that's about right.
Let me check
All
my.
right.
Yeah.
Check your watch.
Yep.
All righty. All right. So we've got some really fun stuff to talk about and share today. But first, I'm going to hand it over to Zach so he can recap the awesome workshop that we did last week. So go ahead and share your screen here.
Cool. Yeah. So, if you weren't with us last Thursday, we went over building a weather application using the React Native runtime and some awesome design assets from both Michael and Robert. We were able to show off kind of how we could interchange both of those design assets for this weather app. But yeah, so as you can see here, well, actually, first, I pulled up this tab. You can find our the video. It's called Build a Weather App. It was our workshop last week, and you'll find the links to both the project source code if you wanted to follow along with the video and code along with it, or if you wanted to see the final product, the final source code. It's all in that an open source repo called Weather App Mobile. Or if you wanted to see the design assets and preview the designs in Rive, in the Rive editor, so you can see kind of how some of these assets were built, you could totally do those that as well. So here's that repo, and then the community link you can see here. You can open in Rive and check that out. And then, just to also recap what was kind of built, we had this weather app. This one is Robert's design asset, but we showed basically an hourly forecast view of the current day. So you could click on each of these different hours, see the different forecasts and have it reflect here, but also the animation changing in the background. Unfortunately, I don't think there's anything super exciting in Chicago today, but there's some cool rain assets and cloudy assets that Robert and Michael built out. So you should definitely inspect those in the links there. But yeah, that's pretty much what we went over last week.
I feel like you're selling Chicago a little short. You guys got the Bears. It's NFL preseason going on. Lots of excitement.
That's true. I'm actually just pretty stoked. It's not like 100 degrees kind of summer.
Ooh.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Zach. One thing I should have done before that, though, is welcome JC back. It's been a while.
Yeah,
we're all
JC.
thrilled to have him back. So
Back.
yeah, definitely
Yeah.
excited to have you back and making some awesome stuff. Okay, well, I think today, if you saw on Twitter or saw the title of this live stream or the description, is we're going to share some of our favorite tips and tricks within Rive. Maybe will help enhance your workflow, speed things up, or maybe just give you some ideas on things you might want to try for your next project. So I'll jump in and start us off with a couple tips and tricks here. If I can share my screen without breaking things, that would be a good start. All right. Anybody see this tasty pseudo donut?
Nope.
Let's add it to the stream. How about that? Now we can see it. See, I told you. I told you something would happen. Okay. So this is just a shape with, let's go ahead and take a look at the shapes here. So I prepped this just because I didn't want to build it live because, as we can see with just screen sharing, I had a problem with that. So this is just a circle or an ellipse with a gradient fill on it. And then I've got a stroke here that's kind of acting as the cakey part of the donut. But one thing to make this like an actual donut that you would see and not like some jelly filled thing is we can cut a hole out of it. And there's a few ways we can do this, but the one I wanted to show today was we're just gonna duplicate this path and then we'll shrink it down. And so right now this shape is part of this donut, this shape group. But what we can do is go ahead and convert this. And then if we reverse direction, look at that. It punches a hole right out of your shape, and you still get the stroke on the inside of that too. So that's a really useful thing you can use to punch holes or to add. You can use it to add to shapes as well. So yeah, that's an easy way to cut a hole out of a donut or a bagel. If you're into bagels, like, you can do that as well. So let's see here. Let's go on to the second tip here. And these are all going to have to do with using paths and things like that, which that one, paths and strokes and things like that. So here I've got a little funny baby man designed. And so we're gonna start drawing some appendages on him. And so let's just draw a simple path here. We'll delete our fill and we'll add a stroke. We'll increase that size, and let's grab the skin color here. And we'll go ahead and add a cap and round joins. And so this is cool. Like, the sleeveless look is cool. But the neat thing with strokes in Rive is that you can actually stack them on top of each other. So I can go ahead and duplicate that arm stroke. And let's set it to, actually, let's leave it here, but let's go ahead and select the shirt color. And then let's use trim paths. And we can start to add like a t-shirt sleeve to this guy's arm. And we can increase that stroke size. And then we can also change the cap type to give it more of a cutoff look. But that kind of brings up some issues with it going up above a shoulder, and it's all, rectangular up there. So let's do this, and then let's add another stroke. And we'll set that to round, and then we'll shrink this down. So now you've got the rounded shoulder, and he's got a nice little short sleeve shirt. We can duplicate this over. And he's got some arms. And we could do the same thing. Let's give him a pant leg really quick here. So do the same thing. We'll delete our fill, add a stroke, jack the size up, select the pant color. And we don't really need to do much. I guess, we could give him shorts, right? So let's actually do that.
Yeah, it's summertime. Come on, he doesn't need pants.
Yeah.
Let's duplicate that stroke again. Let's select that. Increase the size a bit, and then go back to trim paths. And there you go.
Yeah.
This guy is ready to go out in the heat. Yeah, I like those shorts. Those are nice.
I'd buy a pair.
So yeah. So yeah, this is just, a pretty buy a pair. I have a pair or two. But this is just a fun thing you can do with strokes. They're really powerful. I've got one more example of what you can do with strokes.
Oh my gosh.
Let's
The
use
triple
this.
whammy.
I like the stroke because you can use different color stroke, but when you need animate, you only animate one stroke.
Yeah,
this is perfect. Yeah,
that's a good point. So I used to use something like this in After Effects before I found out about Rive, and I would use an expression to tie so I'd have to duplicate paths, and then I'd use an expression to tie it to it. But this way, you get it all kind of built into one shape or one path, and you can you can stack those as high as Mount Everest if you want. So let's go one more example of how you can use strokes as kind of like a stylistic accent is let's add a stroke to this ellipse. and it's kind of a trendy style I've seen used, and I've used it a few times. It's kind of like a broken like outline. So we can actually do that here. So we went back to our stroke options and trim path, and then we can go ahead and set that start, and we'll do the rounded caps again. And then we can duplicate that stroke, go back in here and offset it, and then shrink the start. Well, we'll shrink the start down here a bit, and then offset this. And you can start to get this broken line, which I think can be a pretty neat effect if you, and it's useful for other things if you wanted to make like a dashed stroke or something. Right now you can do it this way. So yeah, that's just one way of keeping everything nice and organized. I think I was doing this the first week or two I was in Rive. I wanted to do this, and I was like drawing paths and then deleting things, and so I had like an actual broken path, or multiple paths within one shape layer thing. And I think somebody was like, "Oh no, you can just add more strokes." Like, oh, that would be easier. So yeah. So, and then you have control over, you can set the color for these if you want. But yeah, so that's a little bit about utilizing the stacking of strokes within your shapes.
And it was a triple whammy tip. You don't get those often.
Boom.
Nice.
All right. Let's see. Let's go with Robert next.
Oh, okay. Let me go through the process. Here we go. Share screen. It's in here somewhere. Oh no. All right. We're gonna try these one at a time. I have three versions of the editor open. This is it. This is the guy. Okay, so we've talked before about using IK constraints with legs, and I think we had a question once about, well, why don't you use it with the arms? Now, there's some situations where you would want to use IK constraints with an arm, and I'll show you one of the ways that you can use it. So in this case, I've got this character who's holding on to the crayon, and it's really nice to have my arms just attached to this crayon here. So using the IK constraint with this actually gives me something that I can target and move around. The other benefit to this is that I can actually get perspective warp on this crayon by just using the scale on the bone there. Now you can see, like, at the end here, it's kind of getting a little wonky because the ellipse would need to bend the opposite way right now. But you can add keys for all that. So let me show you how I set all this up. Let me just get rid of that. Get rid of that. We need to say goodbye to these groups. Okay, so we've got normal arms just hanging out now, and our crayon is just floating. So the first thing I'm going to try to do is just add IK constraints to the arm chains here. And then I'm going to target the bone. So we're going to start with that. So if I target the bone, you can see that it snaps to the bone, because the way that IK constraint works is that it lines up the end point of our constraint, or our bone chain. So right here, it's going to line it up with the target. So if I do this one, oh no, it's back here on the end. It's like, I don't know, it's like Lion King, now he's like, all right, so that's not what we want. What we want is to have the character have his arms spread out and grab different parts of the crayon. So to do that, we can add in a couple groups here, and we're just going to use these groups as targets. I probably don't even need to set them to target, but I'm going to for now. And then let's get those positioned right. So let's say he's grabbing that one there and this one here. And then we'll just go in and assign those groups again. Boop. And boop. Oh, nope. Wait, bone count. Messed up here. There we go. Okay, so I can't click. There we go. Oops, I did it again. Here we go. We got this. Let's just really get in on that target there.
I believe in you.
Okay. Oh, now I know why it's busted. So we also need to put those groups nested under the bone, so that when I move the bone, it moves the groups.
Yeah.
And now my crayon is in my hands, and I can do all kinds of stuff with it. And you can see, I think I set the animation up in here. This is, I just kind of threw this little goofy one together this morning. It's kind of hopping around. So you can see that the perspective is pretty decent. But again, the crayon's flattening. So I could just go in here. Because everything is sort of independent of each other, I can just go in there, do the scale like this, and then let's find where the crayon goes the opposite way. I think that's like the maximum opposite way. Just crank that scale down like so. And then where are my keys at? Here. Take that, stick it on the end. And boom, now the perspective is flipped, and this whole animation just, I don't know, took a couple minutes. I would never want my character to run like this, but you know, it's pretty easy to get something up and running with this kind of setup. So I don't have a triple tip today. That's it. That's all you get from me. I'm about to go on vacation, and so that's what you get.
No triple tip.
No.
It looks like you referenced my run with that character, but that's right. All right, thank you, Robert. That was awesome. Like, the best thing about things like this is like I'm glued to the screen, like watching everything, because most of the stuff I'm still learning, and I think that's the awesome thing about Rive is that there's so much to learn. Like every day is a new day to learn something new in Rive.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Let's go to Laura next.
Okay, I'm gonna do a tip on what not to do. Just real quick and simple. Let me see if I can share. Okay. Sure. Oh, sorry.
Oops.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you seeing it?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so this is actually Shazy helped me on put this together, the state machine working. So this is how it's supposed to be. It's really simple. It's just a dog, and when you click, it says hi. So now I'm going to go to the wrong one. State machine. So if I go to play and click, oh, no, it was like this, I think. No, sorry. Yeah. It's not doing the idle, and when I click, it works, but not the way it's supposed to. One thing is that I put the layers of the state machine in the wrong order, so that is why it's not doing the idle, doing the loop of the breathing. And if I change that, and now I go to play, it is doing the idle, but when I play, it's not quite the animation it should be doing. And this is, I know what I have to change, but I'm going to ask you guys, I'm not really sure why. I'm going to go to here. And the animation is not interpolating, doing the transition that it needs, because it has this key on the face. So if I delete it and I go again, it's working, how it's supposed to do. I'm not sure what is that. I know that that it's working if I erase it, but I'm not sure why. So now I'm going to ask you guys the why.
So this is, we're talking about like you have similar keys on two different layers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason that is that the layers take priority going from right to left. So the layers to the right are the ones that are gonna have the most effect, and then the layers to the left are gonna have the least effect. So if you're sharing keys between animations that are on two separate layers, the first thing to try is play your state machine how you have it, see if it works, and then if not, try and reorganize your layers. I can't give you like the
Okay. So it's the same. It's the layer order.
yes.
And also an extra key because okay. Okay. So
About the layers. Now you know that when you work in something new, you need to think that when you create the layers. Okay, the first layer is the idle, but I need to know that some part of the character move or not. So the second layer, I need to key this part or not. This is the thing.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and outside of layers, this is what I've come to realize is 9 times out of 10, there's a keying issue somewhere. Like that seems to be like, something's not working right. Like check your keys, I think is a good mantra for
90% of all state machine issues are just keying problems. There is that very slim chance that it goes a little deeper. So this isn't, I don't have anything to show for this, but we did get, and I actually think he's in chat today. Yeah, he is. We had a state machine come in for a help request where there were things disappearing. And I was like, okay, it's probably an opacity key issue. Well, it turns out I was wrong. It wasn't an opacity key issue. It has to do with how nested artboards and the state machine work. So you would expect, like, when you have a nested artboard and you have it on one shot, when you have a play key in a state, that once you leave that state and come back, when you hit the play key again, it'll restart the animation. Well, that's not necessarily how it works. If you have your animation set on one shot, it will only ever play that animation one time. So you have to either use the what is it? The time mix, not time mixing. Remap.
The remap. Yeah.
Yes. You either have to use time remap or set your one shot animation to loop and then do some weird like opacity stuff. So yeah, bonus tip, but not really a tip because I didn't show anything.
I'll give it a half point.
I will take that. I'm up to 1.5 today. Listen, I'm going strong.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
All right, JC, what do you got?
Okay, let me show the screen. Okay, I have some simple tips and tricks, but for me it's very helpful. So in this case is, for example, sometimes you want to draw something like a face or an egg or a cat, and you want to create one part and mirror the other. This way you have the same size. One way to do that is using the path. For example, I'm going to draw a simple cat. Something like this, and here. And the thing is, this path needs to finish in the same line of the first vertex. here. And that's it. Now I'm going to select the path, duplicate this path, and change the size to a -100. I have the other part. So it's one shape with two paths. And this is perfect. I can draw the middle of the face, the middle of the whatever you want, and duplicate the path and invert using -100. And now you can change the color, or you can add gradients. The only thing that doesn't work that you need to know is if you use stroke, for example, the stroke works. But if you use trim path, you need to know that you have this problem here. The trim path take this the line between both paths. But if in your design you don't need a trim path, it's good to use. Okay, other trick here is this.
This is the magical one.
Yeah, sometimes you want to create some kind of rotation in perspective, like this, for example, this disc. Okay, so to do this, here, the computer is so slow today, so I'm sorry. Okay, here, you're going to add this here. And the first thing I'm going to do is group this here. And this first group is the rotation control. And now I'm going to group again. And this second group is the scale. So now I have this rotation and the scale. Now I'm going to change the scale to find the perspective I want, for example, this. And now, one thing you need to know is if I move the rotation of the disc here from the gizmo, you can see that this doesn't work right. The trick is use the value in the inspector. If you use the value, this works, what's supposed to work. So it's very simple, but you can create different animation with rotation in some kind of perspective. And using some keys, you can create something like this. Okay, other tip. This is very, very simple, but help me a lot when I create when I work with bonds. For example, here in this flag, I want to create some bonds to animate the flag, something like this. But I don't sure that if this middle of the bond is in the right position. I mean, if I go to the vertex, I can see that this is the vertex I have in the middle. So one way to put the bonds in the right position is in vertex mode. You can use bonds and create here the bond chain. Okay, so here and say here. Okay, here in this position is what I want, and that's it. And now the bonds is in the right position. So it's very simple, but help when you need add the bonds in this way. And the last is here. For example, in this animation, I have this animation. We play the machine. When I press, you can see that the cloud is raining. Okay, so one thing I want to do is I don't want to animate this rain again. I want to duplicate one of this line. without make the animation again. So for that, what we need to do is go to the rain animation. I have these 5 lines, okay? And in the animate mode, here, I go to the animation of the rain here, this animation. And for example, I'm going to select the 5 and duplicate the shape, the stroke in this case. And when I duplicate the stroke, the keys are duplicate too. And now this is the most important part, because I want to move this line in other position. Don't move in animate mode, because if you move, you create a key in the position, and this key maybe broke your animation. So the good thing is go to design mode and move and change the position where you want here. And now this new animation, this new line is working here, so you can maybe move this key here, copy the keys, and paste. See? This way you can duplicate the line with the animation and create all the lines you want. It's very simple too. Okay.
These are my favorite animation strategies, where you can just like reuse keys and create a whole deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that bones. So the showing the vertices when you're adding bones. I've never done that before. I played the guessing game, and it doesn't work out half the time.
Same.
It's because sometimes the design, you have the position of the elbow or whatever, but other times you don't have reference. So one simple thing is go to vertex mode and create a bone chain here.
It's awesome.
That's it.
I always feel so much smarter when JC's around. Like, he just elevates me to this new level.
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome. I agree. All right. Well, thank you, JC. Like we all said at the beginning, we're super glad to have you back and inspire us and make us better animators and things like that. So keep dropping those tips in Slack too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Zach, I believe you have something to share.
Yeah. I mean, I can't possibly follow that up, but we'll try. Cool. Let me share that. Awesome. Thanks. So, yeah, mine is less on the design side. But while we're talking and still in the editor, I just wanted to point out some notes that are some good practices or good tips to follow, especially if you're in this kind of designer and developer relationship, maybe two people kind of working on the same file, one designing, one implementing. And we're going to talk about state machine input namings. So naming in Rive is important in some cases, specifically for things like the artboard, which is specified at runtime. For example, if your Rive file has multiple artboards, and at runtime you want to run a specific one, at runtime you have to specify the name of the artboard that you want to run. So having these kind of naming conventions, or any kind of naming conventions at all, is good practice to have when creating your Rives. Another important naming thing is the state machine name. So this is also specified at runtime if the state machine wants to run automatically and things like that. And then the last part is the inputs. So as most of you are probably aware, there are 3 kinds of inputs in the state machine. There's these toggle inputs, which kind of just, or it's kind of like a Boolean where it toggles on and then off immediately. We also have the Boolean input, which is where you can see it's a checkbox here. You can turn it on or off as needed. And then a number input, which is kind of like a floating number input here that you can set. And so with naming conventions, I like to have names where or when we work on projects together with the team, we kind of come up with a naming convention of using things like camel case, so that it's always predictable. Like whenever I look for inputs in a state machine, I can always reference that it's camel case. So you can see here, like complete task is started and stuff. Another tip is with Boolean inputs. In code, it's a common convention that some Boolean variables are prefaced with the word is something happening, or so in this case, like is started. And by the way, this is a community asset I found. I was hoping to use this for like a to-do app or something in my spare time, but yeah, I did not make this. So I have that is started, is completed kind of naming convention. You can kind of see where that kind of convention is getting at. With trigger inputs, these can kind of be, whatever we want. I like it to be some kind of action because it's going to be fired at runtime, kind of like calling a method. So in this case, I call it complete task, a complete task trigger. So at runtime, I would say complete task.fire as a method. And then as far as number inputs go, I like to think of these. These can be kind of ad hoc. So in this case, I'm thinking of using this input name progress state as an enum. And so each value here would mean a specific state in the state machine, which I have not built out yet, but it represents, like the 0 represents the state of like is not completed. 1 would be like a task is in progress, or 2 would be like a task is completed. And so these are just some kind of, when you're creating these input names, it's good to just think of like, what's a good naming convention? If you're working with other people, just either work on a document or go over the Rive file together to understand kind of, what kind of makes sense to both design and develop side. So that's what I wanted to show there. You can use your own naming convention if you have another thing that you like to go off of. That definitely is not prescriptive, but just light suggestions. And then the other one thing that I think we get a lot of questions about in our help requests is, if, say I'm a developer and I'm looking at a Rive file, and I don't really want to go into the editor to look at, what are the artboard names and the input names and stuff like that. I'm going to, we get this a lot with like the web runtimes. So here's an example we had in one of our live streams a while ago, where we used one of JC's assets to choose an avatar. With any of the web runtimes, once you have the Rive object, so in this case, I'm using the React runtime. Once you have the Rive object here, you can call the contents property. And here's my console log. I have this in a code sandbox. You can actually dig into and kind of debug like some of the names that are important for instantiating things. So for example, skin demo, I think this is the name of the artboard. You can look at the names of the animations if you're looking to do specific animation playback control. And then you can also look at the state machines. So you can get the name of the state machine, in this case, motion. You can look at the different inputs here. So there's a skin input. So here's just like a fun, convenient debugging method to quickly get access to some of these important things in a Rive file if needed. And that's all I had.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach.
Is it time? Not Morbin time. Q&A time.
It's Q&A time.
What is
Yeah.
It's like this. I don't know. I guess it was a Marvel movie that just got memed out of control because it was terrible.
Morbius. And yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't. Thanks, Robert, is all I'll say. I had to bail on my camera because I had lost it. So I apologize. I wasn't laughing at you, Zach. I wasn't laughing.
No, this is a great example, honestly. I still don't understand Morgan, so I need to like look up whatever this is afterwards. But like, Yeah, I'm looking at the comments right now. Yeah, is Morbin perfect? Love that.
Yeah.
But what
Morb
does
level
it mean?
Dude, we're morbing out of our mind. It doesn't
doesn't
matter.
We need to move on to Q&A.
Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
it. All right. So
Go ahead. Go ahead, Robert. You got it.
First up, Nacho Libre would love to see an interactive Flutter/Rive implementation.
Cool. Yeah. Well, here, let me share again. Nacho Libre. Love the username, by the way. There was a workshop we did probably a month ago. I worked with Laura here on the creator relations team to create this small Flutter application. It's kind of like a little game of like kind of guess where the dog is. And we kind of live coded from scratch this Flutter app using the design assets there. So have a look at that if you haven't already. And it also includes the source code and the design assets, so you can inspect both of those things, just like the weather app. But love working with Flutter. This was a really fun project, so would definitely love to do it again. If you have any ideas for something that you'd like to see or a project idea, feel free to put that in the comments. Yeah.
Sweet. I will try and find a link to that video so I can just drop it in.
Yeah.
Give me a sec.
Awesome. That'd be helpful. Thanks.
So this is a two-parter question. Where can I learn more about animation or illustration techniques? And he also wants to know the best way to start the path in animation, where to get experience, where to study, maybe some books, courses, stuff like that.
I'll chime in quick. So if specific to Rive, I know that this is more of a general question, but I definitely recommend going through all of our getting started videos and a lot of the Rive Unplugged. You'll pick up a lot of animation techniques, but also Robert and JC both have gone through how to build a lot of things too. So they do some design work in there. So if you want to see how to start building things in vectors, yeah, other than that, like in terms of illustration, like I know there's lots of great tutorials out there, lots of courses you can take. So yeah, that's kind of my suggestion is just to scour the web for, I think we've all probably learned from different teachers and different resources. So
yeah, I mean, YouTube is so helpful. You know, there's for the more general stuff like the animation principles and things like that. There's probably a million different YouTube videos that go over it, and then just find a content creator that you like and watch a bunch of those videos, maybe like a Udemy course, and then just do it a bunch and work with JC. Like JC will get you up to speed.
Yeah, one thing about animation is true. In YouTube, you can find a lot of information about techniques, about tools, principles. But the most important is the Richard Williams book about concept of animation. This is the most important book in animation. If you want to learn techniques and concept of animation that you can apply at different tools, this is the book. Yeah, this is a good start. Yeah, my advice is try and try again, and never stop. Just try things. Try how I can do this, and try and it's possible you fail a lot of time, but when you fail, you learn, and this is the most important. So yeah.
If you can
ask always ask somebody if you know somebody who know about animation, or you can find a place where you can ask whatever question you have. Yeah,
I was just going to say Google 12 principles of animation, and that's a good start too.
exactly.
Okay, Some good answers there. Okay. What's the best way to fill a whole screen of a mobile page in Flutter? Let's say I'm using a 500 by 500 artboard using container fit with width. Maybe container fit. I need to cover the whole application window with the Rive animation.
Cool. Yeah. Great question. This one kind of comes up a bunch. It'd probably be a good idea to maybe just go over doing this in one of the live streams. So I think so. I guess one way to think about the Rive widget, the Rive animation widget in Flutter, is that it fills the space of its parent. And so, say your screen, I guess, if 500 by 500. I like to use like the size box.expand widget to take care of if that's like inside of like a 500 by 500 container. And then once you include the Rive widget inside of that, it should fill the space. But have a look at what I'm sharing here in the help.rive.app, which is our doc center. If you scroll down to runtimes and then the layout page, we go over at the bottom there, the fit and alignment, which I think you're using here, as you mentioned. And there's a number of different properties or enums in the case of the Flutter runtime that you can set on the Rive animation widget to kind of fill the screen. So in this case, you might want to try playing around with the fill, fit.fill enum here to fill the available view. And yeah, the best way here is to experiment. Sometimes with like full screen spaces, it gets a little tricky, especially if things are getting cropped, but you just kind of have to play around with things there. But yeah, great question.
Sweet. We got someone who loves JC's work, as do we all. We can all just take a minute to appreciate JC. And it really is good to have you back. I've been missing you, man.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
All right, so this one, this is actually something that we get quite often. Is Rive easy to use? Many designers hate After Effects. It's too complicated, and it's like a multi-part question. And here's like sort of the crux of it. Is it like a framer where you just drag and drop something and the final results are professional? Is that Rive? Not really. Rive does take some a little bit of learning to, get to where you're creating your own animations. It's not like if you want a spring animation, you just hit a button and it does a spring animation. But we feel like getting the animation, once you learn how to create that motion, actually doing the animation and setting up the animation is actually really, really simple. So it's not like you're, what is it, like a WYSIWYG, like just kind of an easy one button solution. It's a more powerful tool than that. Does anybody else have anything they want to add?
There is one. So I was talking to Jill, she's out today, but we were talking about the idea of, so within our state machine and the animation tab, like the idea of if you start thinking like as a beginner, like let's say you're animating a button and you start thinking of it in states. So you've got like your default state and then you've got a hover state. Like the cool thing is that you can essentially like add an animation or a state and key like a color. And then in another animation or state, you can key another color. And then within the actual state machine graph, you can just pull those states on and connect them with a transition. And so you're essentially animating, but it's kind of a simplified way of thinking about, like, I just want this thing to look different, over the course of, half a second. And I mean, you're essentially, now you're going back to the timeline, but I think it is a good way to kind of get introduced to the concept of using the state machine and just thinking about like, what does it look like now? What do I want it to look like? And just keying those properties, and you can start to get some neat, like you can start to build UI components that way and just utilize that transition to start with. and you can set your Boolean so that it toggles back and forth, and just have those transitions go back and forth. So yeah, I mean, that's when you ask, like, it can be easier than After Effects in that sense, and that there are some simple things you can do to get up and running. And with our community, like, you can actually go in and see how things are built and learn that way. So I think we do make it a little bit easier in a lot of aspects.
Yeah, and this comment right here, the community section has really helped me get started on my path towards animation. We're also about to add a new feature that's going to make it even easier to use community content. And if you're looking for something easy, that's a great way to like get started. You can look at buttons or characters and make little tweaks to it and learn using other people's stuff until you get to the point where you're making JC level crazy stuff.
Yeah, the other thing is, in the community you can ask to the owner of this file, hey, how you do that, or how I can do that. So you have the owner of the file to ask what question you have. So yeah, use it. It's free.
All right, here's another question. Right now, Rive is still in beta. Yes, it is. And I'm planning to publish a Flutter application which has many Rive animations. Is there anything I should wait for before releasing?
I guess I could start. Yeah, I don't think there's anything you really need to wait for. If your application works as expected, feel free to publish it. I know there's a few different Flutter applications already published using Rive for like educational game purposes and things like that. It's pretty stable. If you're on a specific tied down version, we'll even if we come out with like a new major version of the Flutter runtime tomorrow, we'll definitely provide like migration guides in our help center to help you kind of get your code up into to support maybe any breaking features or new features or things like that. So I guess there's nothing really to worry about like breakage as far as like happening once you publish your application.
Yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, if everything is there that you need, then there's nothing should be stopping you from going ahead with your project. So great answer, Zach. Ooh, Gary, I played against you in Pokemon one time. My arch nemesis. Just kidding. Imagine if Rive had a Figma plugin. That'd be game changing. Yeah, that's well, you never know what. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. No real definitive answer on that. Ivan wants to know if you're mentoring, JC. Yeah. Are you open for mentoring?
Yeah. No, my life is so complicated now. I'm father now, so it's impossible. But I always invite the people to ask whatever question they have in Discord. It's something where I normally go to see if somebody needs help. So if you have question, use Discord, because it's possible I help you in some question you have.
And also come to the live streams and workshops. Like this is y'all's opportunity to ask whatever you want, and in the time frame that we have, we'll try to go through whatever. So all right, one final question, and this one gets me. As a game developer, using Rive comes really naturally. Both have state machines. It'd be amazing if there was Rive integration for Unreal 5. We agree. We are working on game engine support. So hopefully we'll have more news about that soon and when you can expect that. But right now, it's in development, and when it comes out, trust me, I'm just as excited as you are. And I think that's it.
That's a
That's all we got.
It's a good chunk of questions. Good questions too. That was awesome.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome today. Jeez.
No.
Yeah.
There's something in the water on a Tuesday. Everybody's just.
I know. I was gonna say.
It's because
I think it was
back.
Thursday.
True. JC brings the crowd.
Brings the magic.
Yoo-hoo!
All right. Well, I think unless anybody has any final words, we will be having a workshop next Thursday. It's still up in the air. We're throwing around some ideas. So stay tuned for more information on that. And then in 2 weeks, we'll do another live stream. Same time, same place. Well, not same place. It'll be a different YouTube link. So, but it'll be on the Rive YouTube channel.
Yeah, same bat channel. Yep.
Same bat channel. Yep. All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and call it. Have a great Tuesday, everyone, and we'll see you online.
Yep. Bye, everybody.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.